Hello and welcome to this brand new and super exciting channel called Spirit World News, where we converse and communicate with the conscious community and beings on the other side of life. We will ask the quench-bursting questions that has been brewing in the collective consciousness for millennia. Like, what really is the truth? How did it happen? And why? Our first collaboration is with a very blessed soul called Suzanne Magnusson. She lives in central Sweden and is a very talented trance medium. I met Suzanne via a spiritual teacher we were both once working with. Suzanne has gone into deepen her practice and bring us some incredible information via the being she channels. Our first series, Salvation with Suzanne, will consist of 3 episodes on the great history and life of the Prophet Jesus Christ. Our first episode will be with his parents, Joseph, Mary, and grandmother Anna. Episode 2 will be with the great prophet himself and his true life and experience. Episode 3 will be with his disciples. Kick back, relax, and enjoy.
Hello, I am Susanne and I am happy to be with you today. And I'm really looking forward to do these interviews with Benny. I'm here to present myself and tell you a little bit about myself and my spiritual journey. And of course, my spiritual journey has not been straightforward, and it has not been easy, as it is for many of us. And I don't think anything is really pointing out. It's more or less that ever since I was a child, I have known that I have a special connection with the stars. I also always believed in God. And I have had a very strong belief in something beyond myself and something larger than myself. So that was my base when I was a child. Coming up in my teenage time, I used to use God as a protection shield by praying the hardest I could when I was walking home. And please make sure mom and dad is asleep when I come home. Much too late, a little bit too drunk maybe. And so I used the strength of the belief in that way, but I always had a strong connection with God and the stars. And a great disappointment to me was when I came to United States for the first time, or maybe not the first time, maybe a little bit later, but I was not so old. And I realized that the stars that I had at home in Sweden were not the same stars in the United States. So I couldn't find the comfort there. And that was really distressing for me. I was using the stars more or less every night to communicate with. And it was a silent communication, but it was something that I felt very strongly connected with. So anyway, my spiritual journey really started when I was a little bit more than 20, and my interest evoked, and I started to search. And by the age of 28, I met my first teacher and mentor, Ralph Jordan, in the United States. And I started to study for him and his students. And one of his students, Wendy Goodman, she became one of my teacher and my mentor for many, many years. And still, we are very good friends today. And she's still very active in my life, really. So I started to study with them, and I must say that Ralph gave me the foundation of the spiritual belief structure that I have. And he taught me the basic and the grounding and the foundation, and how important it is to have that grounding foundation. in yourself when you are developing as a spiritual being and you are starting to expand and grow spiritually. And of course, together with that, you need to grow as a human as well, and your personality needs to get mature and all of that. So he learned the importance of that. And I started with my regular meditations, and maybe in the beginning of the 2020, I and 3 others of my friends, we started a trance developing group. And we were sitting once a week for trance development. And as we have met trance, and we have met trance demonstrations, physical demonstrations, 2 of us at least have been sitting in demonstrations, seances with physical demonstrations. And for me, it was something that was very loving, and it was a very special energy. So we started this trance developing group, and we were sitting every Wednesday, and we started to bring messages to each other, and we were working like that. And I wasn't aware really what was going on and how it would develop or not. And must have been maybe 2010 or 2015 or something like that. I was really getting bored of sitting because it was just dark. And my friends got messages, they got images, they get everything. For me, I went into meditation. I went into a still place, and it was just pitch dark. I was just sitting there, and I didn't understand a bit of that. Anyway, that continued, and I brought on some pressure and stress, of course, of that. And I thought that I couldn't meditate, and nothing was working according to me, and it was really upsetting. But then there was a long time since I had been sitting in trance demonstration, and of course, the years passed by, and Ralph passed away, and everything was, sort of, everyone went to their own places, and I was in no longer contact with the people that I knew that could do trance demonstrations and to do trance. So the concept of trance became like something that I kept within inside, and it was really loving to me, and it was like a loving energy inside, and I was starting to long for it. And I had this desire, and there was a big part of me that was mourning the thought that I might not be able to sit in a trance seance anymore, not like that as I had been before so many times. And I felt the longing and the pulling inside of me towards the trance. And then before the pandemic, a couple of years before the pandemic or something like that, I realized that I had to do something for myself and to pick up my spiritual journey again. So I started to search, and I started to educate myself. I became a remote healer for Christoph McKeestek in New Zealand. And then through Christoph, I met my mentor, Thomas Wehrler, and he is a trance medium. And I took a couple of courses with him. First, the basic one for trance, and that was really good. And then I took this medium course with Thomas, and my trance and my mediumistic abilities just exploded. And it was like, when that course was ending, I was like, oh my God, I can't think of this, letting this go. I have to just do this. And by the time I had realized that he had a course in trance, And I connected with Thomas, and I talked to him. And in April 2023, I had the first conversation with him about my trance developing. And so I signed up, and we started to training in May. And I just remember I asked him, what can I do until May? And he said, just sit, go into to trance, and just sit. And I was like, okay. And I started to sit. And it turned out all these boring sittings that I've been doing for years and years, that paid itself. It was really like that I have really developed a lot by just sitting. So I was almost ready to pop as a trance medium to begin with, and it turned out that I had not only one communicator around me, I had three. So we started to work, and we picked one of those. That was lovely. And she started to work on me, and very, very quickly, it all fell into places. And by October 23, I posted my first video on YouTube, my first official trance video on YouTube. So by then I had certified from Thomas Werler, and that I had passed his courses in trance development. So yes, 2 years later, I'm here, and I am doing private sittings, and now I'm going to do this interview series with Benny, and I really look forward to that. It's loving feeling to be able to sit in trance and let your communicators come that close within you, and to feel them within. Even if they are not passing through my auric field, I feel and experience them inside. And Lovely educated me, and she trained me. And then very quickly, Margaret Fox came in, and she started to exercise and train me and bring me further on. And so I got used to it, and I got it going in the flow. And she was a very skilled medium when she was alive here on the earth plane. And then Joseph came in, and Joseph happens to be not only Joseph. He came with a presented himself with a biblical story. So he's actually the father of Jesus. And I mean, I always been very strong believer, and I also took Anna, the grandmother of Jesus, into my heart. And so when Joseph came, and he started to come through me, and he started to speak and so on, it all just felt so natural. And Benny and I came together, and Benny asked me if I was willing to do an interview series around Jesus and his time of here as a Jesus. And I said yes. As I already had Joseph, I asked them, Anna and Mother Mary and so on, to come along. So we're really looking forward to this series, both me and Benny, and I'm happy to be able and just sit. So I'm gonna do my very, very best to just stay away and relax, and to be able to let them come through and speak with you all. So that was a little bit of me and my journey in my spiritual life. And I am happy to be where I'm at today. I hope you all going to enjoy the series, and you are so welcome to watch and share And if you have any interest in private sittings or anything, or Benny's services, so please just connect with us and we get back to you. So, and meanwhile, enjoy the interviews.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this first episode with Salvation with Suzanne. Today, we're going to be meeting Joseph, Mary, and Grandmother Anna of Jesus Christ. Suzanne's going to go into trance now. We're going to give it a couple minutes, and then we're coming back and straight into the interview.
We are happy to be here today with both of you, Benny and the medium, and we are happy to say that you solved the technical issues and that we are on the way now. So I am Joseph, and I am the father of Jesus, who became the Christ, and he was born Jesus Ben Joseph. And you are asking today of me and Mother Mary as well to speak about the time and the preparation before Jesus' arrival. It was a time that was really difficult in many ways in the country where we were living, and the politics were pretty much the same as it is now these days. It was full of conflicts and people who wanted to rule over others, and we lived in a very closed companionship with we were many people in the group, and we were supporting each other, and we were a group of people that were hidden from the rulers and the public, so to say, and we played our life in disguise, and we were all thriving to grow as spiritual entities here on the earth plane, and we managed to bring information from the outer world and outer space, and we brought information to the earth plane that had not been here before, and we expanded that knowledge and that spiritual awareness on the earth plane to the extent where we could do physical demonstrations and where we could manifest that was needed for the high frequency of intelligence that was about to form into a physical body. And we were many that were working together to do this, and to come together, as many as possible, to raise the energy. There were many people in our community that was able to do these things as we did, me and Mary. And there were several of others that were born in the same way as our son was born. And that was thanks to the preparation and the work behind that, and what we all had to move through in order to do this. Are you following what we are talking with about Benny? And so far, would you like to ask anything around that?
Yeah, I'm definitely following. It makes sense, and thank you for sharing that. I would like to get an idea of your background, Joseph, and where you were raised and who your mother and father was.
My mother and father was a humble couple of humans, and they were part of this community as me and Mary was, and her father and mother as well. And we were like a community underneath the public, and we were born into this world. They too brought information into the world as spiritual beings, and it grew more and more. And as me and Mary, actually, we met very young, and we soon understood that we were going to go and work together as a couple and to be each other's counterparts. And together we accomplished this. So our family background came from the same area, and were in the same communion that we called our group of people. And we were a large group, and we were living in that area, and we also traveled in order to get our initiations and our growth. So our parents were on this pathway as well as we were, and they were a part of this whole setup before Jesus came. So there was a lot of work that needed to be done, and many people were involved in this preparation, and that included our parents, of course.
That makes sense. It's very interesting. Can you tell us the places of the world that you have visited?
The places that we were visiting was mostly what you call today is Egypt, and we were also traveling to the Middle East and to the high mountains, and we were traveling in larger groups, and we were searching knowledge and higher spiritual development, and that expanded our vision and our growth, of course. So we had many places, mostly in the Middle East, but we went to the temples, and we went to the pyramids, and yes, we were all together in those journeys, and we were working together to get our growth and initiations and expansion.
Amazing. Sounds like a fantastic journey. Can you
Many times it was, and many times it was very dangerous for us to be doing this, because all of this spiritual work and growth had to be done in the privacy and hidden away from the public, and we had to live as under disguise, and we had to act and perform exactly as anyone else, as otherwise we could have been arrested, and we could have fallen into the hands of the authorities at that time, because all of this spiritual work was not accepted. It was absolutely not committed, allowed in the country.
mm, yes.
So when we were working before Jesus was born, there were a lot of energy gathering in the area of around the place where we were living and where Jesus was going to be born. So there was a lot of people who were centered there in order to gather the information and the energy that was needed to the place where the conception and the birth of Jesus further ahead. So that was, shall we say, an intensified energy gathering. And so we stayed pretty much close to that in order to stay in that environment before he was born.
That makes sense to me. Can you explain to us how you felt when Mary told you about the holy pregnancy? Or was you already aware of it?
I was very much aware of that, and the two of us were very much aware of that we were going to do something exceptional, but we didn't know exactly to the extent at that point, because that understanding really came as we were watching our son grow, and when we saw the amount of energy that he was about to bring into the world. So at the point where we were getting pregnant, we knew that it was something special. And also, we were not the first ones to give birth to a very special child, because when Jesus came into the world, he needed to have companions as with high frequency of energy as well. So we were more than just me and Mary to give birth to this high frequency of energy that Jesus was and that he came from. So we, within the communion, we were really happy that so many were born and so many were raising up in this high frequency of energy. So yes, when we knew that we were pregnant, it was a blessing. And of course, we followed that with, shall we say, high tension. And we were just, following ahead. And as you know, there were more people who were pregnant in the communion at the same time. And yes, they were born one after the other. And Jesus came, shall we say, the last of the children, as his companions needed to be a little bit older than him. So it started way back in time, really, before he was born. So the angels and the higher frequency beings from outer space, they were very much involved in this, and also to keep this as a secret, of course, and to shield every one of these beings who were raising up in this high frequency in order for them to grow and to be able to expand. So our communion many times went, shall we say, underground in order to stay away from the public and to let these children just develop and evolve in their own time. And of course, the frequency of energy around the communion at this place at the time was really, really centered and intensified. So they all had the ability to evolve and to grow spiritually in a very fast and controlled way.
Right. Well, that's something brand new that I've never heard before. Um, when you speak of these children and Jesus Christ himself, um, was he born and they born from the light or without any intercourse?
He's born from the light, and he comes from the stars, and his energy is that high that was able to come into the manifestation through the light. And it was me and Mother Mary together that manifested this impregnation together. And the frequency of the soul of Jesus was so high, so the three of us really was able to do the impregnation. Yes.
Wow, it's truly amazing.
It was. And to point out that we were not the only ones who was able to do this. So this was something that was needed, especially for these higher frequencies beings, that was needed in order to bring down this higher knowledge in this pure light that Jesus came with. And he needed, in order to develop the way he did, he needed to have followers with him to support him and to raise the vibration. And there is not much talked about these other children that came at the same, pretty much the same time, because the focus has always been on only Jesus, but Jesus could not have done this by himself. He needed the preparation before, and he needed the people around him in order to become what he became. And so the intensifying energy around all this communion at this place was really important for this.
Mm. So is the companions you speak of, would that be Jesus' disciples?
That would be Maria Magdalena, who came and became his beloved, as you all know, and also his cousin, the John the Baptist, who was with him from very young age. And the mothers were also friends, of course, and he was a part of the communion. And according to the biblical story, that John the Baptist was the one paving the way for Jesus, and to a part that was the truth. John the Baptist played a huge role in this, shall we say, play. And then his disciples and friends around him, there were boys and there were girls coming together, and yes, being his friends most of all. And then the disciples that came were also, shall we say, they were touched by the energy and the spirit, and they just responded to the energy to come and walk with Jesus. But before he was gathering disciples, he had all his friends around him, and they were also disciples of him. According to the biblical story, there were only 12, but there were many more. And in his communion, there were boys and girls coming together as couples and working together as couples. So they were actually many more. And they were there before he reached the point where he started to do his preaching.
Okay, okay. Wow. Well, we never knew that. Thank you for sharing that. It says in the Bible, in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 1, verse 20, that a holy angel appeared in your dream, saying, Joseph, O son of David, fear not to take unto thee Mary thy wife, for which is conceived in her is of the Holy Ghost.
You
Is this
know,
a true?
you know, there are many things written down in the Bible that is written in a fairy tale way. And we were very much aware of what was going on. I knew exactly what was going on, but to the public, Mary was unmarried. And so this story is a fairy tale story. We were in contact with the angels, with Gabriel and with the archangels overall, and we were co-working with them. So that story is a way of explaining how Joseph, as the father, could possibly accept an unmarried woman who was also pregnant. So that's just a way of explaining how it was accepted. That's all.
Well, thank you for bringing some deeper understanding to that. So, did you marry Mary?
Yes, we were married in our way, but it was not officially done in accordance with the laws that was at the time. But within our communion, yes, we were married. We were together and in our way.
Can you explain what the ceremony was like?
The ceremony is pretty much when two souls come together and they merge as one, and they come together to stand together as one and yet separate, representing the female and the male energy in both parts, and to be able to do the energy frequency work that we did. So that's a union between the two. It really doesn't matter if there is on paper or not, but we were married and joined together like that.
That's beautiful. It truly is. Can you explain to us, in the Bible, it speaks a lot about the Holy Ghost?
The Holy Ghost is way of explaining the energy and frequency of higher mind consciousness, or God's head, or God's energy. It's way of explaining the energy coming as a wind and disappearing as a wind, and that's why they use the name ghost. But really, the Holy Ghost comes from the higher frequency of the higher mind consciousness, and it's a higher frequency that the human are normally operating on, and that's why it's also considered being very swift in movement, and that's why they name it the ghost.
Makes sense. Most of us have all heard of or even acted in the play in school of the story of the birthing of Jesus. And you travelled on a donkey, or Mary did, and you walked next to her. You knocked on inns trying to find room and ended up in a stable because there was no room. And Mary gave birth to Jesus, and three wise men appeared. Is this a true story?
That's also a fairy tale. We had a prepared place where we were, and as you know, we were living underground and we were living in disguise. But we had a prepared place where we could give birth. We had donkeys, and the communion had the donkeys, and we were never really alone, and we were all together. And of course, when Jesus was born, me and Mary were there, and it was a safe house for us to be in, and out in the stable was where we could lay down and rest. And as you know, there was signs that was telling about that someone important and strong individual would be born, and we were extra careful, so we hide it away. And yes, the stable is correct, and but it was a well known. It was not like we were searching and rejected. That's also a bit of a fairy tale. But yes, we were in a stable and we were together, and Anna came to assist, and Anna were part of the delivery, of course, and we were all gathered around this happening.
Thank you for sharing that. Was there three wise men that followed the North Star to the birthing of Jesus?
There came, shall we say, priests and higher known individuals that could read the signs of the birth of born of Jesus. Of course, they didn't know exactly what was Jesus, and they were searching, but they knew that there was a boy that had been born, and they were following the signs, and they were receptive to the information, and they came and paid us a visit. And yes, they had gifts with them, and the rumors went, of course, that someone was born that had a very special talent. And as you know, also that the king was disturbed, and he started to search for that boy because he felt threatened. So the time for us as a communion was very difficult, and we needed to find shelter and hide away in order to make sure that the life of Jesus could develop as it should. So, yes, we left the place, we left the house, and we started our journey to a safe place. And that safe place we have been to before, and we knew where to go, and we just secretly started our journey to that safe place. And that journey was going down into Egypt, and we found a place where we could be safe. So, yes.
That was my next question, to be honest, to ask if that account was true, where you had to escape to Egypt because of King Herod, I believe it was. Um, can you tell us where you lived in Egypt?
We were living just by the side of Jordan, by the river of Jordan, and we had a communion there, and we had a group of people that could work with us as keeping us secrets. And there were also possibilities for us to go, shall we say, underground and to hide away if there was a threat coming towards us. So many years we were spending time in more like caves and also underground to be safe.
Hmm. Sorry you had to go through that, but you've done a great job. Is there
Well, we
anything?
all knew what was needed at the time, and we all signed up for this work to be doing, and we all enjoyed the task really, and we knew that it was very important to do that, and so we happily did that. And our spiritual journey ourselves was geared and it was targeted towards this goal. So we knew that to begin with, and we knew that the circumstances with the politics that was going on was going to be like this.
I'm amazed with the I suppose the level of consciousness that was there then. Um, you don't really, I personally haven't heard or experienced anything like this before.
This is a story that has been imprinted into mankind ever since. And Jesus came with a concept, and he came with the concept of love and peace. And he brought that to mankind in order to develop empathy, love, and caring for others in order for mankind to grow. And before that, it had been a lot of emotionless actions and behaviorism. And when Jesus brought the love and the compassion and the emotion into the human heart, it all started to change.
Well, it's definitely something that's needed now as well.
Yes, you are living shall we say, a repetition circle from that time at the moment. And now it's a spiral of energy that is moving higher and higher. And mankind is growing, mankind is rising above that. That, shall we call it, a more primitive way of being. And mankind is now expanding and moving into the higher dimensional world. And as the earth plane itself is changing and expanding into the higher dimensions, and people on the earth plane needs to follow that, and they will, and they are at the moment. So it is a repetition really in higher frequencies right now.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all that information so far. Is there anything else that you want to let us know?
I think we shall let uh, Mother Mary come in and talk to you a little bit.
Thank you very much, Joseph.
It is with great pleasure and so much love that we come today to share this beautiful story that was playing out. We share this love and this feeling of companion, love, understanding, and expansion today. We are here to talk about this great happening that was happening at the earth plane when my son, our son, came into the world. And he was one of those who came, and he was one of those who spread this information. He had many with him, and of course, we've been very well prepared before he came. And it wasn't easy. We will never say that it was easy. It was. And we were all prepared for that. And he came with his love and he came with his peace. So being in that high frequency energy around him, as me being his mother, I was carrying this high frequency of energy within inside of my physical body. And to feel that growth and to feel that energy filling my being during this whole time, for those who had the inner eye, they could see the intense energy that was around me and that was inside of me during that time. I was filled with love and I was filled with the awareness of God's higher frequency. And also, I was protected by the archangels around me during this time. And as Joseph has explained to you, that we had to be very careful. There were many of us in this communion that we were living in this great family that were working together, and there were many that was expecting children and who had done the same physical demonstration of being impregnated in the higher energy of lights. And we were all gathered and we were all protected. And for those who had the eye, they could see that at that point, the area where we were a huge, strong light in the earth plane. And that's why also the wise men could look at the stars and they could feel the energy from the light in our group of people. So yes, it was a lot of love. And Jesus brought that. So when he was born in that love, and of course, he had filled me and his father and his relatives with his love before he actually was born. He spread that love through the pregnancy of mine. So wherever I went, his love was there. So his work really started long before he came into physical body. And he started to work with the whole group of people through me as I was carrying his body. So it was a blessing to be his mother, and it was a blessing to be a part of this happening.
Well, thank you for coming through. And in true honesty, it's put me a bit off track because I'm so surprised with the level of consciousness that was embodied. Then it's fantastic. I would like to know what you looked like while you was in physical form.
When I was in the physical form of Mother Mary, I was dark-skinned, as we all were as we grew up in that area where the sun was really strong and bright. I had long dark hair, and you, from the look of the world today, you would have said that I was beautiful. I wasn't clean in the way that you are talking about today, but I was clean anyway. And our clothing were so totally different from how you are dressed today. And we were using clothes as covering up our bodies, and we were using clothes on our head in order to protect us from the high frequency of on sun rays, and I was rather tall at the time, and we both were, both me and Joseph were rather tall. And Jesus, as he grew up, he became a young, rather tall man, and his slender body, and yeah, he was also dark skinned as me and Joseph, but not colored that you would say today.
Amazing, thank you. Joseph's already explained that a lot of the Bible are fairy tales, and that consists of a lot of the questions I have. Is there anything you need to share with us regarding the Bible and the
You
story of?
should know that within the Bible, there are planted seeds of information that is triggering for the inner heart and the inner mind in order to evoke that spiritual journey for each and every one. The biblical story, as a fairy tale story, is written the way it is in order for people to be able to bring that into their system. But within the words, there are messages. And that's why you have so many belief structures that origins from the Bible, because the way that information is touching your heart, that's the way you're going to believe. So all those planted seeds within the Bible will grow differently in each and every person. And sometimes they grow very alikeable to others. So that's how the different religious uh, communions are founded upon the belief structure of the Bible, because they share the same way of believing. And that is the purpose with the Bible. It does originate from the happenings, and they have just used languages that are for people to be able to grasp and take in. And then as they do, they receive those planted seeds, and the growth will start from within.
That makes sense. It really does. Um, my main questions that surrounded for you, Mary, is the upbringing of Jesus. Joseph has shared that he was a very high frequency soul, and you could feel and see that from childhood. But what was he like as a child, and how did you raise him?
He was a child really before he came into the earth plane, as he was bringing the love. He was bringing the love, the compassion, and compassion and companion. He also always gathering his friends around him, and as he did when he was in my stomach as a being, he gathered people and he touched people already when he was in the stomach. So when his physical body was born, he came into the human body as he was fully awake and aware as he was born. So he started to educate long before his birth. And when he was born, his physical body grew, and the more the physical body grew, the spirit could work through the physical body. He was always playful and always caring for his friends, and he was always gathering his friends around him, and he was the natural central point, as he was having that extra glow of love within him. And he was always full of adventure, and he was always loving and playful, and he used to do some practical jokes. They were very
Mhm.
innocent, but they were practical jokes, and he was laughing and he was having fun. And yes, he was a joy to be around. And I was around him totally in the beginning, of course, but then when he started to walk and be able to be with his friends more, he always came to me, and he never really let his eyes away from me, because he always kept a very close connection with me. And that was his wonderful way of being, to being a careful and caring child.
That is awesome. He obviously really loved his mom.
I think,
Sorry.
yeah, I think that Anna wanting to come through and lead the last words with her.
Okay.
If there is anything more that I can answer for you before we do that.
I was just going to ask, according to our current Gregorian calendar, what was the real date of birth of Jesus?
Well, the way that you have put up the time frame is not actually correct. He was born before the calendar, really, and that's a misunderstanding, really, when the calendar was put up. But it doesn't really matter uh, that much. He was born, and when he was born, and the calendar talks about this birth, they have sort of giving a time when it happened. So, but it was really before that. But it's not really important.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing, Mary.
So I send my love to all of you, and I am now letting Anna come through. I come in the light, and I come with blessings to all of you. I am Anna, the grandmother of Jesus, and I had the pleasure to be a part of his journey. And I had the pleasure also to be a part of the preparation before he came. And as you heard from both Mother Mary and Joseph, the story around Jesus was a beautiful, loving story. And we were all happy, and we were all touched by his energy. By the time come when he was about to be delivered, and he actually came by himself. I was being the midwife, of course, and he actually did the work himself, and he came into the world, and it wasn't that different from before, because his energy had been with us. It was nothing strange with the energy coming with the physical body all of a sudden. And he started immediately to work with us from his body, and he was such a loving child. And as you already know, he brought the love, and he brought the emotion and the compassion into the world and into the earth plane. And it all started within himself, and it touched us that were around him. And we carried that around us, and it was spread from that point where we were. So, as you already know, that's why the three wise men could find the way to the stable where he was born. And they were not to be trusted as they came, and we were careful, but we could not sort of close the door at them because they wanted to pay the respect, and they brought gifts. So we gave them the blessings, and they left us. And very soon we knew that we were going to be followed. So we started our journey away. Being Jesus' grandmother and being very much involved in his growth and spiritual journey, I stayed very close to him, and he was very much with me. I was very much around him and his friends as they were all playing around, and I had my duty to be around the kids. And of course, my love was expanding in my heart and in my field as I was spending so much time with Jesus.
Well, firstly, thank you for coming to share this with us today. It's an honor to be in your presence, and like your daughter, I could really feel a huge expansion of my heart space and love. And I guess that's what Jesus got to experience with you being such a caring grandmother for him. Could you, or well, from my understanding, that you lived for many, many years, is
Yes, what
how
you
long did
call many years.
how long did you live for, and how did you do that?
There are certain practices that can be achieved. And there are ways where you can make sure that the physical body is staying in a young shape by taking care of the organs and the skin. And the connection with the soul can keep the body alive, even if the soul is not present within the body and the body is resting a lot. So I didn't spend, even if I was in having my physical body for many, many, many years, I was not in the body for that many years. So when I was in the body, I was doing work, and my body was not really aging, even if the body was on the earth plane for a long time. So I know that you are calculating differently, and I would say something like 800 years or something like that. The body was preserved and it was taken well care of, and there were a couple of 300-400 years that I was not inside the body as a soul. The body was just resting.
Mm.
So that's why you can't really say, well, I guess it's not important, really.
It's truly amazing, though.
It's
I'm
a
sure there.
spiritual practice that you learn how to do when you expand and grow, and all that we did at that time can be done now and more, even more. And it's a way of using energy, and it's a way of expanding and letting your body expand into higher frequencies, so it's not that dense materia anymore.
Mm. Interesting. Definitely in the future, I'm going to look into understanding it a lot more. Can you explain the role you played in helping raise Jesus? Because obviously all these miracles, as we call them, that were performed, have been learned from somewhere.
Yes,
Was it
I was a
yourself that
high
taught?
priestess in many ordinations that I had, and that was just we say initiations, and I had the knowledge to bring that training into Jesus and Maria Magdalena and more of his friends. They were 8 couples really of people who was going through the same initiations and the same training as Jesus. My role in his early life was to be with the children and to play with them and to stay close to them, and by doing that I could also start the training very early. And Mother Mary to Jesus, she was a part of that too, and of course we were all working in hidden away and underneath the radar, so to say. And so my job was to educate and bring them as far as it was possible. And really, from the beginning, we knew that Jesus was bringing the high frequency of light into the world, but we did not understand really how big and how known it would become. We knew that he was going to be something for the world to change, but we just simply educated and had him go through all these practices and spiritual practices as was needed for him to be able to do the physical demonstrations that he did when he lived. So we just did what we did in our community, that we grew as spiritual beings. And Jesus was, of course, as he came down with such a high frequency to start with, he was predestined to be able to do this.
Pure magic. It really is. Is there anything that you would like to share with mankind that we haven't spoken about today?
Right now, I think that we have left you with information that is going to be enough for today, and we are happy to return, as we know that you are looking forward to a couple of more interviews, and we are happy to be back in those interviews. But for today, we would like to say thank you, and we would like to express that love that Jesus was bringing to the world. And that was an unconditional love. And we would like to share that with each and every one of you. And we leave you in that energy. And you will feel that energy within your heart and within your system when you have watched this video. So we are happy to leave you in that energy.
Thank you very much, Hannah. It was truly a great honor to help assist in sharing these messages. And I do look forward to the coming interviews.
So do we. and we are happy to be back again. So until next time we speak, Benny, we leave you in that strong frequency of unconditional love. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm back. Wow.
Hello.
Hello. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be able to let them speak through me and to be able to do these interviews. I'm really happy for that, Benny, and I'm so grateful for you hosting this. So, yeah.
Thank you, Suzanne, for your service. The information you was able to bring through today, it was truly magical. I feel quite emotional myself right now, so I'm just truly grateful, and thank you for everybody that's listening, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. God bless.
God bless you.